Welcome back to the Movies That Matter Oscar show. Here we're just doing all the other fun categories that kind of mix in. I'm Nicole.
I'm Lexy.
I'm Stacy.
Alrighty, kicking things off with some of the fun stuff. Costume design. Nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So I think we all know where I'm going with this one. The only enjoyment I got out of Napoleon was looking at the costumes. I was like, ooh, jewelry, ooh, shoes. And just the stitching and the detail work on all of them were incredible. I love the costumes in Napoleon. They were absolutely the best, the star of the movie for me.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the only, I think, not many enjoyable parts of that movie for me, and that was one of them. I thought Barbie was, phenomenal, like it is in a lot of these other categories. Just the references to so many of Barbies of the past and their costuming around that, and all of Margot Robbie's different outfits, and I attended KatsuCon, which is an anime convention local to the DC area, I think last weekend. And they had a whole cosplay meetup for Barbie. And it was so fun to see all the rollerblading costume, some of the hat and the pink vest costume, Ken's costumes out. There were a couple of Allens, I think, and also just tying in the costuming to the whole aesthetic of the film was very well done. And then I think, Killers of the Flower Moon having both kind of the Western and then the Osage representation in terms of the clothing on different characters was also very well done. Oppenheimer, I feel like, is one that's hard for me to evaluate because it's a lot of suits. And it's like, okay, there are suits. Yes, it makes sense, but is this really that interesting?
It's like if I go as myself for Halloween.
Okay,
did I nail it?
Yeah.
Or did I kind of phone it in? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I will say for Barbie, some of the best quote unquote costumes for Barbie were Margot's red carpet looks. She did Date Night Barbie, which was amazing, but that wasn't actually in the movie, so I kind of can't give the credit. So it's interesting. I'm with you. They just took it out of the movie and into the real world, and all those costumes are 100% fabulous. And I had Date Night Barbie, so I was pretty excited to see it.
Yes, Date Night Barbie. That's the one. Yeah. I guess I'll give a plug for Poor Things. I know I've trashed it, but the costumes for Poor Things are pretty out there and pretty great. If nothing else than the madam's sort of nighttime wear when she comes in that one scene. It's like, girl, okay. Yes, good for you. So yeah, I can see Poor Things winning that. I wouldn't feel too bad about that.
Yeah, I think Poor Things, I think one of the things that a great costume design should do is enhance the character, right? Like the clothes make the man kind of thing, right? Where the costumes just really work with the people as they are. And so sometimes that's easier to do when you're not trying to recreate something that already exists, or just do a period piece. Period pieces tend to get the nod. But you're sometimes in a modern piece where you're someone really carefully thought about Annie Hall, right? Annie Hall's costumes were iconic. So I do think Poor Things kind of isn't weighed down by telling a real story, as it were, as the other nominees.
Yeah, I guess with best costume, I think there's always this question of are we awarding authenticity or are we awarding creativity? Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Which sort of back to Greta Gerwig was a little bit of the debate about Little Women. The costumes are completely inauthentic, but does that matter to you? You know, I think it's a somewhat of a question of personal taste. So I'm fine if Barbie or Napoleon wins it, but I will say that it was truly the star of the show in Napoleon.
The standout performance, the costume designer.
All the two leads were just so dreadful. And then you had
Yeah.
Rupert Everett chewing scenery. Oh yeah.
Oh yes, yes. I loved him in that. I loved Rupert Everett. Took me a full 4 minutes to realize it was him.
Yep. Yo, he got old on us.
Comes to us all. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Production design. Exactly the same nominee.
Is it really?
Yep. Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Oh, if solely, go ahead, Lexi.
Oh, I think this is where Barbie really, I mean, I think Barbie shines in a lot of area. I think this one, compared to the last category, this is where Barbie, I think, stands out above the other nominees. Back to an earlier episode discussion, I think Poor Things does have a good chance in this one in the way that I don't know exactly, because I know with Barbie, they were like building everything and it was more akin to the old filmmaking of, they painted the backdrop and they built all the houses and they built the sets. And I think to Oppenheimer's credit as well, I think Oppenheimer also had intentionally a low amount of CGI compared to probably what they could have done. But I think Barbie is the more clearly winner of this one compared to some of the other categories.
I love that, Lexi. This is the one category in which I actually do think Barbie and Poor Things are neck and neck. I will completely salute the production design in Poor Things. They really created a surreal universe for these actors to walk through and move around in that calls back to those early cinematic experiments of neo-expressionism. So I, again, won't be mad if Poor Things wins this, but Barbie was doing just as much as they were in kind of the same vein, but just a different genre, just a different selection of source material, and also nailing it. So yeah, I could see either of those.
That's so interesting. So I would actually say, well, I didn't see Poor Things. So I would say like neck and neck for me would be Killers of the Flower Moon and Barbie. And again, it's such an apples to oranges comparison. Like they're both great at what they do. They both do two completely different things. I think, yes, Barbie captured Barbie land and what it felt like, what it would feel like from your child's perspective, like you still hold on to, like to be in Barbie land and the Barbie dream house. And I mean, they needed the elevator, but we're gonna let that go. Just all of the production design and the cars and every little element was just so spot on. But I also felt like that for Killers of the Flower Moon. I thought the houses, the little village they created, like all of the interiors, like the mix of the sort of Osage elements in for the Osage dwellings, with what was Western culture things at the time. I thought all of that was just beautifully carried off to kind of the last detail. And I'm like, I don't know how you pick between, they're equally great feats and they're totally different, right? So I that's like one of the few things I just really appreciated about Pillars of the Flower Moon. I will say though, for the not nominated, but my pick, like you heard me, like if you listen to my episode on Wonka, he is just an absolute master of creating production design that is adorable and delightful without ever crossing over into twee or overly sentimental. I think it's
Do you see my hands?
We're gonna turn you into a kitten at some point, and then you're gonna have to do the rest of the episode like that with a kitten filter on. No. I think, yeah, this is just it's just such a tough one to judge.
I I I'm so glad that you jogged my memory just now. I do remember watching Killers of the Flower Moon and recall and thinking, gosh, he's good at that. He's good at that. I don't know who he's hired. Maybe it's just he hires someone. But I remember in oh gosh, sorry, Goodfellas. I remember watching Goodfellas and thinking, dang, like every scene was specific, like everything in the room was specific to that year. Like I don't know where he found that, like, that Ottoman, whatever. It was, that was what my mom had in 1986, and I remember thinking,
Tchotchkes, the dining ware, like all of it just it mood creates in such an effective way. Like it is really well done. All right. This is another tough one actually. Original song. Uh so
I'm
we
just Ken. I'm just Ken.
have
What'd you say?
It's got to be I'm just Ken. I'm sorry.
well we
I
have
love
a
that
we
song
never
so much.
yeah, we have a Never Went Away from American Symphony. I'm Just Ken from Barbie. What Was I Made For from Barbie? The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. Please excuse my pronunciation. Wazahazi, a song for my people from Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, I've never heard that term said out loud, so I don't blame you. I mean, I loved. I thought what was I made for was when I'm thinking of a best original song, I want a song that is a good song, but that also propels the story forward.
Hmm.
Like it actually adds to the story. I think that's why the song "Remember Me" slash "Recuérdame" from Coco is so brilliant. It's a great song, but it's also right, but it's also used three times in the film in a different way that moves the story forward, and it's actually integral to like the climax of the. It'll never get better than "Remember Me." That's like the best song of all time, right? With through this sort of these parameters, and I think I'm Just Ken and What Was I Made For both do that. They both move the story forward, but are also great songs. Um, the others are lovely songs. I don't know that they fulfill that assignment, that brief. Maybe I'm wrong. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I haven't seen American Symphony or Flaming Hot, so even hearing the songs, I don't know their significance within the film, which makes it hard to evaluate, as like Stacy was alluding to with moving the story along. I think I think between the two Barbie tracks of What Was I Made For and I'm Just Ken, while I love I'm Just Ken, it is definitely a bop. I would choose What Was I Made For over it for the award just because of the like heart impact it has on you when you're watching the film, especially like the second time I watched it and I could hear it coming on and that you're at the kind of the end of the movie and I was like just tears like strolling down my face.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think for me, it's 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 just the capture the like feeling and essence of the movie. So I would compare it to Adele winning for her James Bond song and then Billie Eilish winning for her James Bond song. I did not think that the Billie Eilish song deserved that award or even nomination, whereas Adele's was like, I was like, nailed the brief. This is James Bond. If you think of all the catalog of like great James Bond songs, it somehow fits in that wheelhouse the same way. All, like it just felt so James Bond. Um, so for me, the choice there is What Was I Made For? Um, Not Ken's song, but I will say, like, I'm gonna be honest. I think I speak for maybe all of us when I say like I have no ability to judge the song from Killers of the Flower Moon. Like
I was
it could
thinking
be
about
like the crappiest version of that type of song, and I wouldn't know it because I'm not familiar with that musical genre. So, and it could be the absolute best. Oh my God, it's so much better than all the other ones. And I don't have the cultural depth or knowledge to even can evaluate that. So,
I think
unfortunately,
that's a good note. Yeah. I'll cop to that as well.
yeah, I agree. And I even like played it before we started recording because I wanted to remember it more. And I was thinking, I don't know. I probably should have done more research, but I was like, I don't know what they're saying. Because I think it's, if I remember correctly, it may be the song at the end of the movie when they're panning out and they're showing the circle. Like that is a very powerful, I think, you guys mentioned in your episode, like it was a good choice to end the film that way with, on the Osage in their drum circle, playing the music together. I think that is a good moment, which would maybe push it ahead for me over I'm Just Ken. But yeah, I don't fully know how to evaluate enough to compare it to What Was I Made For.
right. And it's like, I think I said this, like, I got onto Powwow TikTok. It's fun. Do that thing if you're not there. So it's like, I've seen a lot of the dances and heard music, but then again, it's like, maybe this was like the most Osage song ever, and I just don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I just have no ability to ground myself in this musical tradition. So I can't. It sucks. And I unfortunately think that will also affect the voting choice. Like, I'm super glad it was nominated, but I'm like, I don't know how any of the rest of us can really evaluate that. And that's sad, but it is where we are.
So for animated feature film, the nominees are The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. In terms of the ones that I've seen all of these except for Robot Dreams, which I've heard is good, but I have not seen it, so I don't know how to judge it exactly. I I think the two movies that I really loved on this list were Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and then also Nimona. And I agree with discussions earlier in earlier episodes about Spider-Man could have easily been a Best Picture nominee this year because it was so good with, animation, voice acting, shot construction, how they weaved in all of these different elements throughout the plot and the storytelling. It was just a phenomenal film. And I think Nimona had had fun characters, good relationship between the two, good chemistry between the two leads, great queer and, particularly like trans, non-binary representation in that film, and also was really I think the basis of mistaken identity and trying to prove yourself to the masses is not a new story, but I think this film also had so much heart that it really was a great story to tell in a new way. And The Boy and the Heron I have mixed feelings on. I don't think it's Miyazaki's best work, and I think it was definitely a personal project, maybe more so compared to his other films. But I know some other people really love The Boy and the Heron. And I think Elemental, we talked about, Nicole and I, on a previous Movies That Matter episode. And while it had some good moments, was not an overall strong film. And I think maybe instead of Elemental, I would have put the TMNT Mutants of Mayhem movie in here instead. That one was so fun. A great, there's been so many TMNT reboots and sequels and new iterations. This is, I think, one of the best iterations that we've had and really does a great job at portraying them as actual like teenagers and kids.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lexy, for bringing that up. Yes, 100% TMNT. Yeah, I feel like everyone was just kind of really excited about The Boy and the Heron because we weren't. It was kind of like a coda slash swan song for Miyazaki's career. I don't think any of us expect to ever get another Miyazaki film, and didn't expect to get this one. So I think that was just a lot. It was just kind of a big deal. Um, but yeah, it's is it his best? No, no, and clearly, I please see our episode on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse to hear how I feel about it. But yeah, 100%. It's easily. Not having seen Nimona, I have to presume Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the best one because it's so great. But that's certainly a good plug for Nimona Lexy, so I'll be sure to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting. I was actually having a conversation yesterday about, so there was one thing I wanted to see on Disney Plus, and my friends were like, "Oh wait, no, you're gonna get on there and there's gonna be all this stuff that you want to see." And I was like, I don't think so. I'm not a Disney person. And they're like, "Oh no, there's gonna be all these things. I mean, all your childhood favorites." And I'm like, none of my childhood favorites were Disney. Like, not none, but I'm
Hashtag
like,
last unicorn. Thank you.
yes, that's the first thing I said. And then I was like, Secrets of Nim. I was a big Don Bluth person.
Yes, Don Bluth for the win. Thank you.
And so, I think, frankly, Elemental is not the only one. Like, we've seen a real decline in quality in the Pixar offerings. I think Disney had a good upswing and then is kind of also kind of come down in their animated films. I think it was a weak year for animated films. Like, I think we need some new. DreamWorks has got to get out of there, right? Like, we need some new life in this
Was Puss in
format.
Boots this year? Or was that last year? Puss in Boots, was that this year or last year? Puss in Boots: The Last Wish? I feel like that was this year now.
I think it was technically last year. Because I thought it was nominated, but Puss in Boots: Last Wish was phenomenal.
Right.
Okay, well, I didn't see it, so maybe I stand corrected. But I just feel like that the Spider-Verse movies are bringing something to animation that's really fresh, and where people are a bit coasting on what's been done before. So again, obviously, agreeing with all of you, I was sad it wasn't in the Best Picture category. It absolutely should have been. It was far and away like way up there in my Best Picture of the Year personal list. But I just, yeah, I mean, like with Miyazaki, like it's hard not to compare to all the ones that have come before, and then also with Pixar, like their legacy is a bit of a weight on their shoulders. So it just, to me, I'm hoping that the Spider-Verse movie starts to breathe new life and people start to re-explore a more drawn look and feel and new styles.
The more stylized art animation. Hopefully we can hope that when the third one drops, they'll give it like a Lord of the Rings treatment and shower the concluding chapter with awards. But I don't expect it, even if they should.
I am very excited for the third one dropping, and to the best of our abilities, we should all go see it together.
Yeah, whenever they actually release a release date.
Yeah. Well, with all the strikes and stuff. I mean, I think, yeah. So it's like, I'd like to see, like, stop motion also hasn't been nominated in a while either. There's so much great and creative stuff that people can do in this category that is incredibly time consuming and difficult, and I don't know how they do it. Like, stop motion is just seems like a literal nightmare before Christmas. Just like, why? But so I think, yeah, I would like, was Marcel the snail in shoes this year? Or was that last year too?
That was also last year.
Okay.
I was also looking up, so there's a Japanese animated film called, not Miyazaki, but I think it's Makoto Shinkai, yeah. But that was 2022, so I'm not eligible for this.
Yeah.
Maybe it came to the US in 2023, but it's listed as a 2022 movie.
Yeah. So I just think, not to diminish the success of Across the Spider-Verse, it's kind of a weak year for me for animated films.
It looks like Marcel the Shell's Shoes on won Best Animated Feature
Yeah, I
last year.
think it did. Yeah. Now that I'm saying it. Meh. Memory.
And I'm trying to think through my like catalog besides TMNT, what else could have been a good one? But yeah, maybe there just
Those are the
wasn't a
two
lot.
standouts to me. Was Spider-Man and TMNT.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just funny because also TMNT, like I feel like the animation in TMNT was so inspired by Spider-Verse, at least like the first
For
one.
sure. Yes, definitely.
I mean,
I
it
hope we can
just,
get more of those.
yeah, it just landed with like I mean, it just came out there and was like, everything you've been doing is tired and now we're doing this. And then it's like, there's no way you can't react and change to that. Now with animation, the lead time on that one's going to be really long, right? So we aren't going to start to see things until now. But yeah, it's indisputably terrific. We hope you enjoyed this Oscar shebang. First one ever. Let us know. Be nice. As always, thanks to all the hosts who came on. We're sorry we lost Justin along the way, and other team members will participate in other group projects. Holler at us at moviesmatterpod@gmail.com or leave a comment anywhere that you found this episode.
And remember, movies matter, and so do cartoons.
We'll see you next time.